Hi, my name is Kevin Jones, and welcome to this talk on adding the rock-solid knowledge key rotation component into OpenIddict. For this demonstration, we'll start with the rock-solid knowledge OpenIddict templates. Now that template contains two things. It contains a project for OpenIddict and a project for admin UI. We're not using admin UI here, so we can safely ignore that part of the template. From this, we'll create a project. Inside that project, we'll add the rock-solid knowledge key rotation component. Now that component requires an update to the OpenIddict database. So using that component, we'll generate some migrations and we'll apply those migrations to the database. Once we've done that, we can run the project and we'll then see this component in action. Okay, let's go and write some code. So the first thing we need to do is to install the RSK template. And that template's called rsk.admin-all-in-one.openiddict. And to install it, we can run .NET new install. Now, I already have this installed. If I didn't, it would install the template on my behalf. Once you've installed the template, we can run .NET new list and get information about the template. Here I add RSK to the end of the command, so it'll just show me the RSK template installed on my machine. And we can see the template name and the short name for these templates. And we can use that short name to create the project. To do that, I can run .NET new, passing in the short name. Now for this, we need to pass some options. So here we pass the name of the sample project. I'm going to use MySQL as the database. So we pass MySQL as the DB name. The template also supports SQL Server and Postgres. And then I also need to pass in my connection string. Once I've done that, it will generate the project for me. The project is in a directory called key rotation sample. And if I look in that directory, we can see we have a solution file, we have the admin UI project that we're not going to use, and then we have the OpenIddict project, which we are going to use. So with the project installed, I can open up the solution file. I'm using JetBrains Rider here, but obviously this will work equally as well inside Visual Studio. From here, I can go into NuGet, and I need to install the key rotation package. That's in rsk.keyrotation, and we're currently at version 1.0.1. And I need to install this into the OpenIddict project. So let me go and add that. And then with that installed, I can use it inside the project. So inside startup.cs, where we call options.use ASP.NET Core. So underneath this, I'm going to add the key rotation component. So to do that, I call options.add RSK key rotation. And this takes a builder action. So I'm going to say builder goes to. And then inside here, we need to set some options. Now there are a couple of things I want to do. I need to set up migrations. So to do that, we need to get the name of this assembly. And to get that name, I'm going to use the startup class. So I can say type of startup, get type info.assembly.get name, and then get the name from that. I can then use the builder to set up these migrations. So I can say builder.use entity framework core .add key rotation DB context. Now this takes another builder, and let's call that context builder. To this context builder, I need to pass the connection string. So if I look in the app settings file, we'll find it comes with this OpenIddict connection string setting. Now this is not in the connection strings section within the file. It's a standalone property if you like. So to get that value, we call configuration.getValue and we pass it the name of this property. And that's OpenIddict connection string. And that will return me the connection string. Once I have that, I can call context builder .use MySQL. Into MySQL, we're going to pass that connection string. We also have to get the driver to detect the MySQL version. So for that, I can say server version.autodetect. And again, I pass it the connection string. And then this also takes an action, which takes some options. And for this, we need to set up the migrations assembly. And that will allow me to create the migrations and use them within this project. So that's entity framework setup for this component. Now, what about the component itself? So for that, I need to use the builder that we pass into add RSK key rotation. And on this, I call configure key rotation. Again, this takes an action, and let's call that conf. And into here, I want to pass two things. We basically need to pass license information. Now, where do we get that license from? Well, if I go to OpenIddictComponents.com, scroll down, click on View All Products, and look for the key rotation product, and click on that. Then from here, we can get a 30-day demonstration key. So we type in our name and our email address, and it will send the demo key to me. Now, I've already done that. And back in the project, I can enter that information. So I can say conf.licensee, and because this is a demo license, this will always be demo. And then conf.licenseKey, and this will be the key that Rock Solid Knowledge will send you. And this key will last for 30 days. So this is my demo key. Now, in this project that's been created from the RSK template, we have a call to add development signing certificate. And we need to remove that call, as we don't need the signing certificate now that we have the key rotation. But be careful here. We call add development signing certificate in two places. We call it once to set up the client options, and we call it again when we set up the server options. And it's this call that needs to be removed, not the call in the add client options. So with that in place, we can now generate the migrations. And I'm going to do this from a command prompt. And we do it by running .NET EF migrations. Now, I'm going to call this migration key rotation _ initial, and the context we're going to use is key rotation DB context. That's the DB context used by this component. So if I run this, it generates the migrations for me, and as we know, it puts them into this migrations directory. So we have our key rotation _ initial _ .cs, and we can then apply these migrations to the database. So before we do that, let's take a quick look at the database. So back in Rider, if I go to the database tab and click on add and connect to database, make this a bit larger as the font is so large. I'm going to add the data source manually. So we go next. We want to use MySQL. It's localhost. I go next. Username and password. Well, the username we created for this was OpenIddict. Password is password. And the database will also be OpenIddict. If I click on test connection, that works. Connect to the database. And we can now see the database tables. And we have 13 tables. We have some ASP.NET tables and some OpenIddict tables. So if I go back to the command prompt, from here, I can now call .NET EF database update and again pass it this DB context, the key rotation DB context. Again, hitting enter, the update should be done. And if I go back to Rider and refresh the table list, sure enough, we now have these new tables. We have the signing keys table and the signing key sets table. Now, if I right click on this connection and open a new query console, and let's do a select star from signing keys. And we can see there are 0 rows retrieved. There's no data in the signing keys table. And similarly for the key signing sets table, there's no data in that table either. So now, if I run OpenIddict, it will start up. It will use this key rotation component. And now if I take a look at these tables, so we'll take a look at the signing key sets table first, as that's already there. And we now have an entry in that table. And if we take a look at the signing keys table, we also have an entry in that table. And we can see in these tables, we have an active to time. So time of recording, which is October 2025, this key will be rotated in January 2026. So I hope you found that useful. You can find this code at github.com/kevinrjones/OpenIddict-key rotation. Thank you.